the order of the North Greenbush Fire District #1 Board of Fire Commissioners, please say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Silence and these members of the district. Roll call.
Dave. Here. Rich. Here. Dan.
Here.
Brian. Here. Scott.
Here. Okay, this is a public hearing for the budget for 2021. Do we have any public comments that were submitted on the budget via email?
No.
All right. Do we have any comments from either the chiefs or the fire company vice president of Freesville? All right. And the board would like to add.
I think it's a fair budget that we've put together, and we kind of took everybody's inputs, and I don't think we did too badly in keeping the tax rate down.
All right, we'll take action on the budget during the actual meeting. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Motion made by Brian, need a second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Close the public hearing. Okay, we'll move on to the,
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Did you get the agenda for the budget?
Public hearing.
So the agenda is in the,
Hearing. Chairman confirms that the secretary of the budget
Oh,
hearing notice was posted.
yeah.
Chairman directs the treasurer to
Yeah.
present the proposal. Is that all right?
Yeah, but we.
I mean, I know you
we
just
just-
need it.
let's make,
I'm sorry.
that's
I
right,
just-
so we'll
Just incorporate it into the
Entertain-
minutes.
what's
Just
that?
incorporate that into the minutes. Incorporate that agenda.
yes,
into the
incorporate
minutes.
that.
Well, we have to take final action on the budget, so you want me to read it off then?
Yeah,
We take final action, okay?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mentioned that we're gonna take action on the budget.
Yeah, I'll just,
All right, that's fine.
sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
That's all right. Okay, any public session, we're gonna do the public session for the general meeting at the end of the meeting. Fire District Committee, for the WFD building upgrade, Dave and Rich.
I don't think this month.
The only thing we have is we got 3 quotes for the tree removals at Station 4-2. One from March Trees for $9,500, one from Davies for $52.38, and one from On Target Landscaping for $49.50. I'm sorry, the one for Davies is actually $48.50. It's $100 less than On Target, but On Target is doing a cleanup by the guardrail area and seeding, hydro seeding that area, which he's got 200, so he's actually $47.50 with the extra little bit. And then Bob's got copies of those quotes on that.
So you wanna make a recommendation now, we'll approve that?
I recommend that we go with On Target. And he's doing that little extra, which brings him up to $49.50.
Entertain a resolution to approve that?
I don't have a problem with discussion there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just in discussion with David, discussion with, I went over, took a look, and I got a discussion with someone who I know from the ambulance, you can guess who that might be. There is not clear to anybody where that property line is. So at some point, we should probably make sure we're taking down our trees and not somebody else's trees.
Well, the ambulance kind of went up halfway. I was always under the assumption that they were 10 feet or 20 feet off their building.
Yeah.
I talked with Jim Hannigan, who says it's farther up.
We ever had that survey?
I took
not delay the work,
A long time ago.
a long time ago, I think, but I mean, we had I had tax maps that we walked off with a meter, and it was close to what Jim was saying, but we were like 30 feet different. So
Yeah, I think
it's just a variable
the
number.
last survey I seem to recall, last time we had a survey was when we were in the development stages of putting together the proposal for the addition, right, which is the, where the chief's offices and the meeting room and the smaller bays and all that. So that was 20-some years ago.
We did have it done since I was down.
We've been surveyed on
In the
since?
last 20 years.
Maybe have an actual
Do you
survey.
think
that
you
we
can find that
pull up.
somewhere?
Yeah, I believe it's still in one of the cabinets in the both commissioner's room locked up. So
Right.
I just put it on there, look for the survey.
Right, so if we can find it, maybe that'll answer any
Yeah,
questions.
I think Dave Dickinson did it.
We have where that ties in that line, the ambulance did it a couple of years ago, cleaned all the trees and stuff next to the neighbor's fence. So it's almost like half of it anyway, so I was comfortable where that is. And we followed it all the way around the line of where our property line is. And a lot of the trees, there's some big trees. And then we're trimming up alongside the backside, all the way up to the dumpster, which is mostly stuff that overhangs. It's not gonna be taking any trees off the side of the hill. But,
And if we have a survey that's post the construction of the addition, that should show the most current topography, because the topography back there did change significantly when the addition was built. So if we got one that's post the addition, then that'll.
yeah, once I think we should probably mark it real well.
All right, so let's get back to, do we want to approve this then?
I recommend it.
All right, so you're making a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Make a resolution. Need a second? Dave, you want to second
That's
that?
fine, a second.
Roll call?
Dave,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Resolution
I'll
carries.
be point of contact on it if nobody has a problem with that.
Just give me a voucher. Just give me a voucher.
All right, anything else under building upgrade?
I know that, I talked to Joey Casino, we were talking about getting together and figuring out the next move and looking at things. Just in general, we're looking at getting stuff cleaned up that was outside on the concrete slab, some of the old cooker parts and all that stuff. A lot of debris, so we're gonna try to find a home for all that, get that all cleaned up. And then next year, we hope to look at the bottom parking lot to seal that and then do something with that little bit of an embankment that goes to neighbors there. Maybe come up with an idea of putting the crusher one down or something and then having it, the weed killer stuff put in there to keep that stuff all down. Whoever our landscaping people are, if they do that or if we have to hire someone separate.
I think the rest of the stuff with regard to the project, I think we'll move along with we passed the resolution was last month, maybe the architect to engineer and carry it forward. So it'll gain momentum again. As we move out of COVID, we'll be fine.
All right,
So that's it. I don't think there was anything else. We had a couple repairs done, bathroom sink stuff, and it seemed to clean out, so. And Bob was working on the filters, which he sent out for all the air filters. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
all right. DFG President's Report. Eric, you got anything?
Nothing any different than what was previously submitted, other than, we had some questions regarding the facility and the election. Which I don't know if there's been a meeting with the board of elections or not, to see how that's gonna work and flow.
Bob's been working directly with them. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yep. Rensselaer County Board of Elections has not come out to do a site visit at this yet. They will prior to the election. Commissioner McCray was going to be the point of contact with Chief Burkhart in addressing his concern, Chief Burkhart's concerns, so that they were addressed. I do know that Board of Elections, they do a disinfectant to the facility before, and they do one immediately after. And if there's other special requests that the district may have on an additional one, convey them, and I'll get with Janice and Gary Gillespie from
You
Board of
say that you would
Elections.
disinfect it, is that like hiring a real company?
Yes, they actually have a company that comes in and does it. Yes, that is correct.
I would just add additionally the engine room and stuff out there, but, you know, into the bathrooms, and if you're gonna have poll workers here all day using the.
Yeah, and that's why I want the walkers. The biggest concern is where and how these subplanes, how you keep away from firefighter gear, apparatus, what's the actual layout's gonna be, electrical needs. Because if they do it out in the bay, your electrical's pretty limited as far as you're along the walls pretty much, so it's not always conducive to what you would picture a COVID like election setup would be, so.
I still think it's better than in here, with open air and everything. You know,
Is there grates in the floor out there or anything like that, trip hazards or anything?
Yeah, so where the engines are parked, there's grates there, probably in the center. and
So
the-
maybe, Brian, you should reach out to them and not wait for them to call us.
I'm just thinking of where they're gonna park and where they're gonna come in to the building from, which doorway.
But that's the stuff we want to identify where you use like the one door by the stairs going to, the mezzanine. You tape it off, like the walkway area, stay within the lines, keep away from the gear, that kind of stuff. That's why we're looking to do the actual walkthrough. Because they got to look at it logistically, it's 3 different districts voting here. Obviously, they got a separation. Again, power needs are going to be, it's going to be the biggest thing for them. If they're going to actually separate properly.
Well, this could be like waiting
To
outside.
Dave's point, though, once you start across the floor going north, you can only go so far before you get across the grade. And that may be a handicap.
This
area.
wouldn't work in here for any of that, and I'm just,
But that's what we gotta look, I mean, I don't know how many tables they're gonna need, we don't know any of this stuff yet. I was kind of envisioning they walk in through the west door, and you kind of walk in like you're going towards the east, towards the radio room, and they're going to be along the walls, that's where the power pretty much is. So in the center of the bays, where the grates are, I don't know how much they're really gonna be out that way. But it's, you're gonna have to look at it one way in, one way out, that kind of stuff. So, but if there's, I mean, I know Bob's working on contact, but if you want, I can also call.
Yeah, he hasn't, I was told by the town clerk that they were gonna reach out to us. And I spoke to the clerk maybe about a week and a half ago, and she's like, I'm kind of surprised they didn't reach out to you yet. So I can get you his name and his contact
That'd be
number.
awesome, thanks.
William?
So, yeah, I submitted my complaints, or list of my complaints of having it out in the apparatus.
Complaints or concerns?
Or concerns, I should say, not complaints. Concerns of having it out there, how's it gonna affect our ability to operate when a fire call comes in, where the guy's gonna come in? Are they gonna have to run in front of the apparatus to get into the apparatus bay? Just kind of,
well, that and opening up the doors and.
yeah, you open up
Or
the
you
doors
just pull the
to-
trucks out, they're parked on the apron for the day.
Let's hope for good weather. I mean, there's a lot of,
All right, well, bottom line, you gotta be good.
Yep.
So, but the idea when we talked about this 2-3 months ago, the board and the chiefs were here, let's take a look at that, so we would have more fresh air, you can't open a window here or anything. So, take a look and step one, but, all right.
under
Anything else? Eric?
No, that was the only concern we had about what each area is.
New member application though from the TFDs right there.
Why don't we pass this around as a new member application for Keating, Zelinski, and under committee reports under membership and take action. You guys want to start looking at it? We'll pass it this way.
Again, under my skill for president.
Yep, I just got that one. Still, you sitting? Go ahead.
Okay. We had a couple applications that were submitted to the board for approval, and there was items missing and stuff like that. We were tasked to pick and correct it. I've got that pretty much squared away for you now. With the exception of one individual, I'm still waiting to meet with him, which will be Thursday. So, 2 of the 3, Anthony Charles Rose and Connor Zaves, their applications were all complete now. They have all the information that was requested. paperwork, you did sign off. I have one for John Nordensek. He's working today, so he wasn't able to meet up with me to finish up the last couple of bits of the application. I don't know if you want me to take it.
Well, these are the folks that were already approved,
Right.
so my recommendation is we won't rescind the application, but I think we really kind of got to get back to that. We don't take any action in the future unless everything is submitted and received.
I should have this information, the rest of it Friday, and I'll have it to Bob by Friday, or Thursday, and I'll have it to you by Friday morning.
All right, so he's already been active.
Already been active, and then I have one new one, Logan Sutherland, which have to be.
All right, this looks like,
Do you want me to hold on to this until I get the rest of it together, and then give it to you?
so which does he fall under, 18 or older, or a high school student with a GED, or 18?
Should be 18 or older.
Not high school required work.
Right.
You guys already have, you guys already have this one.
Yeah. We said there's a social.
All right. Rich. Sorry. All right, we'll get to those under, the membership committee report. Anything else with Whitesville president?
That's all I had.
All right,
I was gonna say, I do have one quick, again, President Facto's report here. He hasn't known, I haven't heard this brought up yet, but DFT's asked if we use meeting room for training department meetings, but the weather is turning too cold for pavilion. Is that something you guys want to bring up or no? I said it was in the report, so
Yeah,
it's.
no, you're right. We're gonna check with the district, apologies, regarding, since the district allowed the training, the use for the training, as well as the election coming up. We're inquiring about the use of this room specifically for meetings, et cetera, not for any events or anything like that, just department work, so to speak. So either training, meetings, whatever falls in that guidance. Technically, the engine bays are open, but this side of the building is still closed. We're looking for some feedback or discussion about that.
we brought up the election, that's kind of a different issue because we're proposing having it out there. My personal opinion would be if you can maintain the social distancing.
Yeah, we would be following whatever protocols we need to as far as
Yeah.
spacing and, yeah, everything, so.
The other thing you go with, no tables, just chairs.
So you wouldn't be able to do the tables. If we did a meeting out there, we'd be able to do the chairs spaced out appropriately here.
I think it would just people that have to monitor, turn around wheels that you really are 6 feet apart, or,
We could use the non-wheelchairs, but
Yeah.
we can make changes for that, so.
well, you could even use the, and this isn't going away anytime soon, you don't want it to look tacky, but, you know, maybe you just, what we did in school, we just took some nice neat pieces of tape, just smaller ones that kind of mark, so every time you have a meeting, you're not like trying to figure it out, at least it kind of gives people an idea.
You got 12-inch squares on the floor.
Right, you know,
It's pretty easy.
no, but I mean, so people aren't,
Spray paint.
What's that?
yeah, sorry, tractor red.
I don't think that will go well.
Bob's having a misbeat.
In talking about using the meeting room on Tuesday nights, I was gonna ask that we use the meeting room on December 8th for the election. This meeting room and Whitesville meeting room, as opposed to the board room, which wouldn't be really taking us social distance, so just to manage that.
That can get kind of tight anyway, even without.
Right, just with the
So you should be
board.
having it in here all the time anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make,
Does everybody agree that with both of these, both stations, you know, for meetings, if they're following the social distancing, the masks, it's okay to use, and if you realize that, all right, hey, you got, and I would figure it out in advance. How many chairs can you fit in here? It's 6 feet from head to head. And if you come up with whatever, you know, all right, that's really not gonna be enough room, we're gonna have a meeting room, and I would do that in advance, so you're not moving
Yeah,
everybody.
we can do the calculations and figure that out. You know, we did have our meeting in the engine bay because of the weather. for this month, and it worked okay, but, you know, we basically moved everything from in here out there, and moved it all back, and we're just trying to help with some logistics.
Yeah, we've been doing safety in Winesville. We've been, since June, July, we've been doing it in the apparatus bay. It's worked out, but like you say, you still have the grates there. You gotta watch people don't trip.
Well, it's gonna get cold.
Like that, so.
All right, anything else on either one? Approval of the prior month's minutes. Any
In the budget,
questions, corrections? or
in the
deletions?
budget workshop, you also have, Dan.
Yes, in the budget workshop. I didn't see it. Entertain a motion to approve the budget workshop minutes. Need a second? Scott, all those in favor? Aye. Entertain a motion to approve the prior month's minutes. Rich, second. Brian? Approved. Treasurer's report, Sean.
Okay. The checking account had a reconciled balance of a negative $10,266.90. That's for checks that were cut in. You can see there's over $15,000 checks that were outstanding at the end of the month, that were cut at the end of the month. And we earned interest of 18 cents on that checking account. Year-to-date checking account, $377.72. The bond fund had a reconciled balance of 4 cents. That account is now closed out. It has a year-to-date interest of $1.31. The money market account has a reconciled balance of $1,902,145.20, earning $15.59 worth of interest for the month. Year-to-date, the money market account has earned $340.94. Attached, the other documents attached are just copies of the bank reconciliations and the bank statements. And speaking of those, here are the official copies of the bank reconciliation and the bank statements for your final review and initials. Thank you.
Any questions for Sean? Entertain a motion to resolution to accept the treasurer's report. Brian? Rich, roll call?
Dave.
Aye.
Rich. Aye. Dan.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Scott.
Well, the current month's invoices, you show the list of this.
Grand total of the current month's invoices is $112,724.05. The big one out of that was for the year, almost $64,000.
And a resolution approved. Any questions on the invoices? Resolution? Brian, you a second? Dave, roll call?
Dave.
Aye.
Rich.
Standing.
Oh, yes.
I got one in there, so.
Yep. All right. Dan.
Aye.
Aye. Scott.
Resolution carries. Bob, correspondence received.
Yep, we received the checks from VFIS for the two claims, 1 to 9/6 and the equipment on 9/6. There were 3 checks, $19.95, $500, and $450. And we received KeyBank FDIC insurance assets ending on 8/31/2020 and the KeyBank FDIC insurance assets ending in 9/30/2020. That was it.
Questions for Bob? All right, and none sent, correct?
Nothing sent.
Old business. Approval for body repair and equipment to 9/6. Who's got that?
I do.
That's okay.
Because we received the checks and that claim's been closed with VFIS, just looking for approval to go ahead and let the chief know that they can do the body work for 9/6, the damage. The bid we received was from Upstate, who's going to do the work. And the equipment which is some hose and a nozzle. That was in your Dropbox. $1,040 for the hose, $410 for the nozzle, and it was $19.95 for the bodywork.
Questions for Bob? Does anybody want to expand on this and entertain a resolution for approval?
Make that.
Gotta get it done.
Okay, Dave made it. Second. Rich, roll call.
Dave,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Scott.
New gas multimeter, $7.99. Is that for which department?
It's actually just it's kind of a re-quote. You approved it last month at $644, $664. Chief was trying to save us a couple dollars, but there's a different generation in the model. It did not include a charger with the one that he spec'd out. So I had to get some additional quotes, and I got a quote from Garrison, which was the low bidder at $799. And that comes with, it's virtually the same exact meter, except it has the charging unit with it, which the backup quotes are more. So you already approved $664 last month. It's just an increase.
So do we need to take formal action, Terry, for the price difference? No. Okay. All right. Tree removal, we already did that. Approve and adopt the 2021 budget. Sean, do you want
Sure.
to incorporate the other?
Sure. The, let's see, personal services, we have a line on 50, it didn't change, $59,373. Firefighter operations, equipment and support was $100,000. Equipment maintenance, $105,000. Building maintenance is $97,000. Both buildings maintenance, $97,000. Insurance is $118,000. Cancer coverage, $25,000. Communication networks, $19,600. Administrative expenses, $45,000. LoSAP and life insurance, as well as accident and sickness, is in here at $260,000. Cancer coverage, $25,000. Let's see what else we got. Oh no, that cancer coverage is supposed to be lumped in with the LoSAP coverage above. Other expenses, $38,172. Bond for interest and principal, $337,181. Total general fund expenditures, $1,209,326. Capital reserve for the equipment, $164,852. Capital reserve for building, $46,852. And total of the general fund and capital reserve together is $1,421,030. The tax rate would be $4.08 per thousand of assessed value.
Questions for Sean or comments on the budget?
Yeah, this was.
Entertain a resolution to adopt and approve the 2021 budget. Right? Second by Scott. We all set up, we're about ready to take, good, all right, roll call.
Dave.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
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 Scott.
Aye.
Business election resolutions and motions for December election. Sean?
You should have a copy of those resolutions before you.
Okay.
Mine. Okay. Resolution was tendered by, seconded by, for the preparation of registration rolls in conjunction with the annual election of the fire district as follows. Be it resolved that the Board of Fire Commissioners of North Greenwich Fire District Number 1 have heretofore appointed a board of election to comply with the registration and voting procedures set forth in section 175, 175A of the town law, does hereby designate the 23rd day of November 2020 as the date of the meeting for them to prepare the rolls, basically. And then it goes through the which election districts will be here versus which election districts will be over in North Greenwich or over in Winesville. So we got to review that. Are we going to have only election districts 1, 3, and 7 come here to Breesville, and then 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8 go to Winesville?
That's what we normally do, isn't it?
Yeah, wasn't that Mike's like kind of, yeah. That's what yeah.
I was just doing what we've always done.
Yep. Well, this is just, I just copied and pasted last year, so.
All right. I don't have those resolutions here, and I'm trying to get Dropbox, and it says it's gonna update. Do you want to just summarize those and then we'll vote?
Well, that was the first resolution to, the date of the preparing the rolls.
All right, would like to make that. Rich? Second by Brian, roll call.
Dave,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
one down.
Carries.
I'm going to stay on the resolutions while we're on them. A resolution appointing the District Board of Elections was tendered by, seconded by, as follows. Whereas Section 175A of the town law provides for a system of registration for a fire district election, and whereas a registration of eligible fire district voters must be prepared prior to the district election, and whereas such register shall be prepared from names of persons who have registered with the County Board of Election. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the following resident electors of the North Greenwich Fire District Number 1 are hereby appointed to constitute the North Greenwich Fire District Board of Election for the 2020 annual Fire District election. Mark Lasavito will be the chairman. James Oliver will be the election inspector at WFD. Joe Hogan will be a ballot clerk at WFD. James Kerr will be a ballot clerk at WFD. We have to strike. I received an email from Jim Shermer. He would not be able to do that. So if anybody knows of any volunteers that might want to work the election in Winesville, let me know. William Stewart is an election inspector here at DFD. Tim O'Connor is a ballot clerk here at DFD. Robert Ewing is a ballot clerk at DFD. Jason Strasberg is a ballot clerk at DFD. And be it herefore resolved, they get paid in accordance to the town law. I kind of like the abridged version of that.
Is Joe Hogan on there?
Yep. Yep, Joe Hogan's ballot clerk.
What was your last comment there, Sean? I didn't hear you.
And then it talks about that they get paid $35 for their services in preparing the registration roll and for attending the annual election, and that they're going to act under the constitutional authority. Yeah.
You know, if you open the polls earlier, they get
What time? Right now, they open what, 6?
6 to 9.
What time would we open them?
5:50,
Ha!
5:59. It's got to be
Sorry.
3 hours.
That's good. I like that.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna do it, maybe we make it 5:30 or whatever.
5:45.
Do that, or do you want to stick with 6?
Why don't we go with 5:30? I'll just verify that that's
Yeah, I mean, you might get more people than might be more early.
50. And you should also have the resolution, get a placeholder for Jim Shermer and probably 2 or 3 alternates, players to be named later as part of that. So that,
in the future, I'll have alternates or something.
well, you've had to have alternates in the past. So I mean, you've had voids, so just, you don't, well, it's good to name them. You don't necessarily have to name them all. You've got a Jim Shermer stand-in to be named.
To be named.
And you may want to have 2 or 3 alternates to be named by the chairman of the Board of Elections, should someone become unable to.
So they have that 2 alternates to be determined by the chairman of the Board of Election.
And someone to fill the place of the what was it, ballot clerk and
in place of the ballot clerk and election inspector.
yeah, whichever one you had Shermer in as. There's really no difference. Nobody really knows what one does and the other, you know.
Right. Okay. I'll add that to the resolution. And we'll make it 5:30 to 9. And then this would be $50. I did read about this. I don't like do it right.
Noon, you know what noon to 9 is? $50.
My wife is. I can't vote on it because my wife's one of the ballot clerks. Oh, I can't.
Get what I-
All right. So
Resolution, first and second. Sorry.
I'll make the resolution. Who'd like to second it? Scott? Oh. Roll call?
Scott.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Rich. Dave.
Aye.
Two motions to go. Motion to post legal notice. A motion made by, seconded by, directing the district secretary to place a legal notice in the official newspaper of the fire district for the election of one fire commissioner to serve a 5-year term commencing January 1st, 2021, to be held on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, and for the preparation of rolls on Monday, November 23rd, 2020. The district secretary is also directed to provide copies of the legal notice to the county of Weaver's town clerk, allowed to be for posting on the town's municipal website if available, and on the town's bulletin board and signage board as soon as November 18th, 2020, and no later than November 23rd, 2020. Fire district secretary is further directed to post a copy of the legal notice on the fire district's website no sooner than November 18th and no later than November 23rd. The legal notice must be published in the record no later than November 4th, 2020, and no sooner, is that right?
No earlier than November 4th and no later than November 11th.
11th, right? I missed it there, sorry. That was the motion.
It's sad that I know that.
All right, who would like to make the motion?
Oh.
Brian, you second? Rich? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Last but not least, a motion by, seconded by, directing the secretary to send a letter to the Rensselaer County Board of Election requesting a list of persons registered to vote on the 16th day of November 2020.
Is it 23 days?
Yes. In all 8 of the town of North Greenwich election districts, and request the Fire District Board of Election mail a list of registered voters to the Fire District Secretary by the 16th day of November.
This is by the 21st, but that's okay. But they're going to be crazy this year anyway, so
Yeah, that's
you'll be lucky. When they get the request, they'll be absolutely apoplectic anyway. So. Okay.
All right, who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Brian, second. Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. All right, surplus, DFD failed nozzles and hose. So we just need a motion to declare that surplus. What are we gonna do with it?
At some point, we'll combine it with a lot of the other failed equipment and try and, it has value one way or another.
All right, entertain a motion to declare it surplus. Rich? Scott? All in favor? Aye. WFD Chiefs report. Yep, sure.
Under new business, Bob and I had this discussion, and I want to bring it up and get the right forum. First off, it's a result of a lot of people doing a lot of great work. But over the last couple of months, we've had a couple of instances where the cart's gotten out in front of the horse. And a great example is on road business, we just had to go back and do a redo, partial redo on the gas meter. And as I recall, last month, we had one quote on it, then people went scurrying out of the room to go get another quote on it. And it came back, oh, we got another quote on it. And we beat the price. And we specifically asked, is it gonna be the same charging unit? And, oh yeah, it's gonna be the same charging unit. And then it turns out the whole thing had to be redone. Similarly, last month and the month before, great idea. It's a tremendous asset to the district. Idea came up to buy a training property. And the first Bob had heard of it as the purchasing officer was at that at the board meeting. And we acted on it. rather than us saying, yeah, that's a really good idea, but we should probably have purchasing people take a look at it. And as it turns out, talking to Bob, it wasn't just buying a prop, there was a contract, a purchasing contract that had a lot of legalese to it that Terry needed to see. Terry needed to see and look over and say, we gotta think about this before we sign it. We had not doesn't directly relate to purchasing, but we had last month, we approved 3 members, and then we spent the entire month shagging down the paperwork on the 3 members. So, and by all reports to me, these 3 members were already kind of drills and doing things, and and we just don't have all paperwork.
So I think I know where you're going.
Where I'm going with this, I'll summarize it really quickly, is that we as a board and we as the people that affect the decisions of the board, got to make sure we start getting the horse back out in front of the cart. And make sure all the paperwork's in order. We've got all the quotes. That Bob's had an opportunity, unless it's some kind of absolute emergency, like a blown transmission in a fire truck that we got to act on right away. These guys should have a couple of days to look it over and say, are all the legal and financial T's crossed and I's dotted? Because at some point, we got to look at this. We got a $1.4 million budget right now. At some point, the auditor's going to come knocking, and no matter how good a job Sean and Bob have done, they're going to dig and dig and dig until they find something. That's what
So
they're
you're 100% right, and I couldn't agree more.
But we're all guilty of it.
We're all guilty of it, and we've been down this road before, and we kind of button up. That's why we have the cover sheet for like the member reports, for the purchases. We have the yellow sheet. Brian can vouch for this. He was the chief for a long time. He got beat up a few times because all the I's aren't dotted, T's weren't crossed. And then we get a change, and then we also get a little bit relaxed. So I think we really do need to dot our I's, cross our T's, and unless it's an emergency, we don't move forward with it. And we're just doing our job. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
So,
You're right. Bob and I had a great discussion on it, and I wanted to make sure that it was shared up with everybody and that we were all on the same.
you're right, we just need to, the mechanism is in place, it's just, we need to follow our own.
I think part of the problem with the departments is that we have people changing hands, chiefs replacing vice presidents, replacing, and the ball doesn't get passed as well as it should. And
Right.
one of the things we need to do is the departments need to do is to clean up that part on the transfer of power. And the same thing, even for us here, to guide them through that, but we've been trying to do that, so.
Yeah, we're not busted chops.
No,
Running a governmental municipal body is different than a private fire company with private funds. I mean,
We're not the local rod and gun club.
so, all right. I think we all agree with you. Chief's report, Lions go.
All right, alarms for the month were 41, hours at alarms 183, total hours per year 1,961. Total of 361 alarms, 276 fire calls, 85 rescue calls, 5 drills for the month, hours at drills was 134, total for the year 882. Average response time is 4.6 minutes. Average staff on the first truck was 3.5, and average staff per alarm is 8.3. My report, really, I don't have too much. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Fire Commissioners, Chief Burkhardt, members of the Freesville Fire Department for the use of the facility and the building and stuff for this weekend's training center. Between the two departments, we had a total of 22 members taking attend. All members that signed up did attend. It was well received by everybody. A lot of good feedback about it. A lot of guys said they really got a lot out of the burn unit. So like I said, I'd like to take and thank you guys for everything. I made sure the place was cleaned up. Everything here was disinfected. Everybody followed the proper PPE and distancing and like that. And everything went very well. So thank you again. The fire apparatus for Winesville has all been inspected. Everything passed. It's done most of the garage. I believe, Bob, you got the paperwork for receipt for the bill for that week. So thank you. Just a reminder, the Halloween parade in town has been moved up this year. Still going to be on October 31st Saturday, but it's going to be at 2 p.m. Apparently what they're going to do is go from Lionsville Square, parade down the road, let the kids go right into the school. They're going to have something set right there for them, pick up their package, and out the door they're going to go. So you're just going to basically go down, drive by, and then we're done. So, and then the only other thing that I mentioned is fire chiefs has their annual seminar for 2020 this year. It's Order House Fires. That's going to be held November 30th at 7 p.m. at Pitchdown Rescue Squad. So I'll be setting up quick paperwork up for any of our members that are interested in going. We did find out, I passed it on to Chief Burkhardt. We do have one in St. Jude's, apartment 222. She's ordered. The couch is actually pushed up against the door to get into the apartment, so you can't get in. Everything is stacked up in there. We got Bill Miller involved, and hopefully we can try and get something resolved with it. But that's just one that we know of right now. So this is probably going to be a good class for the members to take and consider going to. And I'm sure there's probably a lot more around the district that we don't know about. That was one we came across a couple weeks ago. Other than that, the only other thing I did, I had a purchase on my credit card for a couple of step ladders that were put on the trucks. We got to 105 Dooney Road and we couldn't get up to reach one of the smoke detectors and take it down and stuff. So we picked up a couple of them for about $100. So other than that, that's about it.
Thank you, Mark. William, Bonnie submitted a run report to you guys already. You guys should have it. Looking to get new tires for car 1 and car 2 losses and need new tires. I did submit a quote, I believe Bob
Yes.
added at one point.
It's in Dropbox.
Okay, so the tires are just kind of burned down. Just kind of, my report short, but I was just kind of wondering the status of the new equipment for the engines. The chief submitted a request for equipment to purchase for when the new engines come for next year, just for pricing and stuff like that. Just kind of wondering where we are with that.
And I thought we were going to wait till the end of the year to see how much money we have left over in our budget to be spent before that. So probably November together, figure out how much money we have before that. Otherwise, we're going to be spending time most of next year.
Yeah, do get an idea quote wise, dollar wise to help Sean.
I had the list of stuff.
Yeah, he gave us
Okay.
last week.
Yeah, it was based on a list that they had developed a while ago.
Yeah.
Probably needs to be dusted off and refreshed, but seemed to be pretty close.
So, for the most part, I think it's 90% there. There may be the 1 or 2 things that you forget at the time.
Well, some of the items are because there was such an adamant feeling on the part of the committee that this apparatus should be laid out identical, so that it could be, once somebody learns one truck, they learn both trucks. That some equipment is going to be bought just so that there's a second one of that particular make, model, size, whatever. So it's some of the equipment is based on that.
And I know the committee internally, like Phil and Brandon and Adam and myself and other people have been kind of communicating about equipment and stuff, the needs that we have and stuff that we'd like to see.
And I've got a couple of other things that relate to that further down.
But
Can I just add to that also, just so that Sean and the board, everybody's aware of just some of the other big purchases that we haven't committed ourselves to, although we contractually with MES, we have the second round of the SCBA purchase that we have to make before the end of January 2021. So it like comes very quick. I am working, I'm gonna start working with the chiefs now about the nozzles in the hose so that we have a good understanding of what that could be, because, I do anticipate that that's gonna be a pretty sizable figure too, and that's no surprise just based on the recent testing. And the last thing, the 2 big items is the 2 ticks that they're looking to also take advantage of the trade-in program before the end of the year. And that, again, that was proposed early on that we would buy the 2 ticks earlier this year and then hold on the other 2 because the program was still open through the end of December 2020. So again, just for purposes of everything, we know that there's some big items out there.
Just to give an update on Eastwick, I ended up getting a hold of them last week or the week before, and they've started to do work on the fire alarm system right now. Apparently there's some hiccups in the system that we found out during one of our fire alarms. It's gonna happen, but they seem like they're working on it. They had the tech there that day trying to repair whatever malfunction was that we had that we were going up there for earlier that day. So they are working on it. So hopefully that will be a good thing we'll see results out of that. Also, I can't recall if Chief Mason mentioned it also, but myself and Chief Mason were talking a couple days ago, just Manor Manor, they had a little outbreak of COVID up there, so we're kind of doing our pandemic protocol fire alarms up there, where the guys are just gonna be in the lobby to attempt to reset, try to stay in the lobby as much as possible, unless we can't get the alarm to reset or, extenuating circumstances that we have to go up and check, but I don't know, Chief Mason has anything else to.
Yeah, I put it out to our officers that we're gonna follow the original protocol when it first happened, walk in front, let them take the determination there. If there's something that we have to go in, then we'll do what we have to do, and that's it. Currently, it was like 45, I think they said, employees, 10 residents have been exposed. Kids and anybody in, we'll
Hopefully go up there, so. Just one other thing is, I mentioned something to the chairman right as he walked in about masks, just looking to see if we can get some more masks, because right now we're starting to chew through the ones that we have. They're just getting, the guys that are coming around a lot are just beating them up really hard. It's just wear and tear.
We already have some spares, right?
Yeah, we maybe have like 15. We didn't have that many spares, but if you want, I can.
Like another 100, you think? Or this
Probably
isn't going away
probably
anytime
about
soon.
10 or 12 left at the station, that's about it.
It'd be nice to have some spares on each truck, because when you see somebody without a mask, they say, well, I hopped on, we're heading out the door, realized I didn't have a mask.
So I had
We
to,
can also put the disposables
Right.
on there.
Right, the district,
That's
right, the district did buy, I mean, we don't have a huge quantity of these, but these are, maybe for the apparatus, we could get
Now would be
to.
the time to do the acquisition, because right now the market, they're not unattainable.
So why don't you buy the reusable masks and whatever you
Get
get
some more.
those.
with us and our apparatus, we do have a couple spares on each apparatus up on the front officer seat or up on the dashboard, so if somebody forgets their mask or something like
Things
that.
like these disposable masks and stuff, I would almost consider that kind of like when we buy stationery and supplies, and we just kind of buy them as needed. I don't think we need to vote every time we buy a box of
We got some on ours, but
disposable
I
masks.
couldn't tell you if there's any on there now or not. We're about using them and stuff.
well, maybe that could be part of when they're cleaning the truck when they're done. Make sure that there's
Yeah,
there
make
for
sure we
the
got it
next
back
call.
on there.
So we'll get you those ordered. Anything else?
Nope. Should be it.
Apparatus and equipment, Dave and Chris.
The vote idea, I mean, if the board is in favor of moving forward on that, I think this winter, is probably the best time to shop for something, come back to the district numbers.
Do you have one of those? I think we should establish some kind of a committee.
Yeah, well, right now it's the 4 chiefs and myself, and Rich is on the committee too, he's on the part of it anyways. So.
My suggestion would be kind of have the committee come up with, like, really what the suggestion is, just so you know what you're shopping for.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just, in ballpark, we're looking at probably 35,000, and that would be the trailer and boat, but I anticipate being under that. As far as, a shed or something like that. Every time we look at it differently, it doesn't seem to be practical where it would be and how we get to it. I mean, we've really been trying to hunt down the idea of how can we do it faster? And the idea of the Zodiac style, after talking to Brian on how they do quick water rescue and stuff like that, is that it would get hooked onto one of the utilities, drag it out, and you would go to the location instead of going to the town beach and having to drive it across the water all the way to the town or to the trailer park or something.
So who are the four chiefs?
Cars 1 and 2, right? Or one and 3 and 1 and 2.
Adam and I,
And then you, and then Rich. So,
I mean,
I don't want to speak for the whole board. Personally, I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah.
But I think we should have some kind of little write-up, like, this is what you looked at, this is, like, it needs analysis.
well, we haven't gone that far. We've
Yeah.
been starting.
But I
with
think
the
that should be
location.
step one before you can start shopping.
No, we're not gonna, until we get the approval, we're not gonna spend the time to pull
Well,
it together.
I think
I
we
mean, we-
formally form the committee, and then I think you call a meeting, and
Okay.
just like you did with the truck committee.
One thing that came to mind in thinking about it over the last month is that I know that at one point Clinton Heights had bought several when they were gonna have that USRT down there. And last I knew, they were still on the market. I don't know if they successfully sold or not, but that'd be worth looking at, because those things have virtually no water under them and no hours on the motors and anything else. That'd be something
And your committee can.
Yeah.
worth looking at.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a hard thing to cover, but I don't think we want to be in the spot where something happens, and as weird as it is, like Adam cursing me out, between having a car in the water and floating boat in the water and everything else, since we even talked about this, all of a sudden, we're waiting to see.
So let's formally establish the committee. Are you guys in favor of that? All right, who do we want to appoint? Give us names, so we'll.
1 and 3 is good with you guys? Mark, 2 and
So you got
1 and 2?
Dave Wilson and Rich French will be the co-chairs of apparatus and equipment. Adam Littlefield, Mark Mason, Wayne Barkar, and Brandon Galligan will be the
Is that voting?
subcommittee to explore the potential acquisition of a watercraft. Entertain a motion to establish that committee. Dave made it, second by Brian, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Buildings and
I
grounds.
gotta still.
Oh, I thought you
Apparatus
said you
equipment. Two things under apparatus equipment. One is, or 3 things actually. 2 relate to radios. One, I've asked Mark Lossavita to do some research with regard to the 800 radios that are currently in 97, 427, 426, to see what of the existing 800 radios, mobile radios, can come out and be reused into the 2 that we're going to need. He's got the information on 97. I think he's still waiting for final confirmation on what's on 427, 426 for radios, but we believe that at least 2 of them, if not all 3, are the Motorola, or the 6500s, which is essentially a radio unit with 2 heads, one in the pump panel, one in the console. The idea is we need to get that information to Suffolk so that they can start to lay out the console properly and do the cutouts for the heads. Additionally, we'll have to get the cables that go from the boxes to the 2 heads, and I've got lengths. I need a 30-foot, 50-foot, or 20 foot and a 50 foot for each radio. The short one going to the one on the dash, the long one going to the one back up on the panel. And then I need an antenna wire for each. I got specifications on that. Additionally, now that's the 800 mobile radio. Additionally, we need to get information on the for what we're going to do on a NGPD high band radio. And we had a couple different efforts going on that. I think we put enough emails together that I think we're on the same page now. We're Bob, you got lead on that? Who's got lead on that?
It was Brandon and Bob were.
Brandon and Bob.
Well, Brandon was gonna take the lead on that. All I wanted to do is get people connected right and then
Okay.
make sure we get the correct quotes, that's all.
We do need to get at least 2 high band radios. Because the radios that are coming out are old technology, they're not analog, or they are analog, they're not digital. And they're, the best we can determine, they're at least 15 to 17 years old. So it's time to replace them in the cycle anyway. So we're gonna need to get at least 2 high band radios, and we might wanna take a look. I don't know what we got for radios to win these 2 new command vehicles. So are those, well,
No.
The
high
one
bands
that
will take
used to
care of?
be in, the one that used to be in high school car 3 is now in utility 4 2. So we'll have to get one.
So
We're
we
gonna
might
need-
wind up, we might not.
we're gonna need
3 or
2.
4 of them.
We're gonna need
Right,
4.
goes to shop.
Yeah, we're gonna need
Probably
4.
gonna need at least, why don't we get 4 identical and I'll leave that to you and Brandon to get take care of. So those are gonna be, I believe, those are just a radio itself and not a separate head from the radio. They gotta be small enough that it'll fit up in that console. So we'll have to get some measurements, but again, more versus, something's gonna need a make model, all that. We'll also need the antenna wire for that so that it can be run pre-wired in. So got some coordination to do with radios.
Now, just Lee Beck will handle all the technical questions.
Right.
For Suffin. So he's
Right,
gonna
well,
be,
It's a matter of more than just quite technical questions. It's they physically gotta have the wires in hand for the build.
Okay.
Because they're gonna build them right in feedback.
from Wells.
Is the high band radios, are they remote heads too for the pump panel or no?
So,
I don't think so, right?
Okay, the other thing I got on apparatus, sorry, did you have a question, Ray?
No, I
I
was
was writing
wondering,
something down.
I was wondering if the high band radios were remote head at the pump panel too.
I don't think they ever were.
no,
Is there any kind of need to talk to the police when you're in the pump panel?
Well, it's the district channels.
Yeah, it's over the district.
Yeah.
So
but
that's why I
it
didn't
hasn't
know.
been.
I didn't know if that could be carried down the road.
I did go out on a limb for $322 this last month. Shoot me if I screw it up. It was a good discussion though. We went up, it started with a discussion when Chief Burkhart William contacted me and wanted to make sure that the suction strainers, the barrel suction strainers were going to fit on the suction in the enclosure built for the suctions. Remember, the suctions are not going to be exposed. They're going to be in an enclosure up over each, one up over the ladders and one up over the high side compartment on the driver's side. And I said, this is a good question, man. I don't know if the drawing gives us enough detail to know that, so I'll shoot with quick questions. Before I could even send them the question, they sent me some information on something. It's like, oh, this is perfect. We'll just apply right this. Anyway, not only weren't the enclosures big enough for the suction strainers, we didn't have suction strainers. It's like, oh. So in the rush to put the trucks back together, we'll just pick them up later. So at $161 a piece, I told them to go ahead and include 2 of their barrel strainers, and they're going to build the enclosure over the ladder big enough to accept the suction and with the strainer on it. So we bought 2 barrel strainers for a total of $322. I don't know where that needs to get approved, but it's something I told them to go ahead with because it should be. It absolute sense.
Usually just fill out the purchasing.
I know, and they're gonna do the
Quotes and
purchasing.
everything you just
You
completed.
know, there is a policy that we do have. in place.
I know.
I got a text coming from Adam here, and I'm waiting for his results here, but the high bands are proposed for the pump panel too. From what we've been saying here.
Okay, I don't recall it, but that's all right. If we're gonna, then we're gonna have to get Bob for the 2 trucks. We're gonna have to get a unit with 2 heads. One for the up above and one for the.
Okay, and we can do this offline from here, but
We
we
can do it
just,
offline for here. We gotta move quick. Move.
right, but you gotta tell me kind of what you want so I can
All right.
let Lee Beck know.
I just want to make sure everybody's aware that we're
Yeah.
moving on this stuff. And that's all I had.
Does she have anything with 427?
Dave was supposed to get me some pictures. It rained the one day that I don't know what to do with.
I talked with Mark and Adam both. They
We're
were.
gonna get some pictures of it, that's all. So everything's ready to go. I got one company shop.
I'm gonna try to put that together tomorrow.
Yeah, I got a
Pictures of
company out of,
See if I get it elsewhere.
the south, I want to say Louisiana or Alabama. They're one of
Just
these,
let me know what you
one of these surplus or
Another
something.
line yellow
Rich.
truck in Alabama.
What picture do we exactly want?
I want as many pictures,
Everything we
Every
can, from
angle.
pump panel to everything.
give me a dozen pictures of it, every angle you can possibly, maybe some of the apartment doors open. The kind of pictures you'd want if you were thinking about buying a fire truck.
I'd like to put something together so that Bob can have something to pump out there too if we need to. But I'd like to flood it as much as we can and get the best price.
That's why I know tomorrow, new ones will be there. Or you know what, the new ones will be there.
Well, the other, it kind of hit home the other day when they hit us with a question on, what was the question on? Oh, it was on a minor detail on the layout of the compartments that are like behind the seat in the forward-facing jump seat. There's compartments there that pass through compartment underneath, and there's like shoulder height compartments inside the cab. And they hit me with the design, and they were like, "Well, if you got to get us an answer by Wednesday, or by Friday, close of business, because it's going to delay the. If we don't have it by then, it's going to delay the production of the drawings." It's like they're moving on this. They're moving right along on this. So,
Expected delivery date again?
roughly May.
All right.
And the Chiefs cars.
Yeah, geez. Bob has
Yeah,
saw
good,
some email on that.
good news. They're going into the shop this week for fit up. So I resent everything, and I know some people got those emails, some didn't, but it's just because there were too many video clips
Yes.
onto those. But the service manager for Bayer he said he got them before, but I don't know what he did with them, but he was happy to have what I sent him, and they'll probably have them for a couple weeks, and then we'll get them here and do the final work on our end.
Who's doing the radio installs and stuff like that?
They are.
They are?
For both chiefs, Mason and Burkhart. I'm going to need, just like what we did before, I'm going to need the radios in a box. That's in your car 3, in your car 3, I believe that's where they're coming out.
Yeah, there was just as well strip it out.
Yep, have Wells do the strip out.
Okay.
So we can get them next week down in Bayer.
And Adam's our contact guy on all that other.
Adam's the contact guy for the installs. The technical end is Adam, so it's just one chief from the district, and I'm handling billing and shipping.
Okay. Buildings and grounds. Brian and Dave.
The tree thing is the only thing we really have. We're all set for snow removal and landscaping stuff and all that stuff, right? So there's nothing to change there. I don't know if we get anybody to ever look at that wall.
Jason Bradley from High Tech, they're going to take care of it. He just asked if they could wait until they get all their end of the year, leaves and stuff taken care of. They've been pretty good with us on price on doing that type of work. I said to him, if you have to just salvage some of the bricks from the wall on the ends, and then if you have to buy some new bricks that don't match perfectly, you can keep them out on the ends where you really won't see them. And that's what they're probably going to do.
I think we probably have to figure out how we can mark before the snow plow guys start pushing,
Mhm.
because I think that was part of the problem. And when we get to landscaping next year, we got a burning bush that's got to be 12 feet high. Beside the building there, and I think it's probably time. It probably breaks a people's hearts, but it probably needs to come down. It's literally got to be 10 foot, 12 foot round, and that's tall. It's the only giant thing sitting there now. Everything else is pretty down to the lower stuff, so that'll be next year project.
Okay. District personnel. I don't have any, do Brian? Okay. Finance, insurance, long range planning. The only question I have is potential reimbursement for these COVID-related things to the feds or the state, if anything.
Yeah, I met with somebody from EHS, all right. Yeah, Tom Burrito, Freedom. So, he emailed me some more documentation. You have to, threshold is $3,300 in order to qualify. Federal government's reimbursed 75%, wait for the state, probably not gonna do anything with the state. We can submit it in chunks. So he said, I'm working with him, we might put it in through this month. And then, because I haven't put like a closeout date on it yet, so we can continue to accrue it. I asked him about like the upgrade to the HVAC, he said that's probably not something that's gonna be includable. I asked him about supplies for the election, he said that's probably not, he said, put them in by all means, but they're probably not going to be, but any of the PPE and hand sanitizer, any of that stuff, that's to keep track of all that. Any hours that Bob has been working on it, he said that hour that I spent on about 40 minutes I spent on the phone with him yesterday, keep track of that, figure out my hourly rate, bill him for that. There's gonna be a training video class I gotta take, bill him for that. So whatever we can keep track of hourly wise, we should bill him for that. They did ask though, there was I forgot exactly what it was called, but it was like an overall contingency plan. Say everybody here, every firefighter in DeFreesville got COVID, so we can't provide the service.
Continuity of operations.
That's it. He said, even if we have a written, it has to be established prior to, the declaration in January, but, he said even, and I said, well, what about a mutual aid? He said, that might suffice. So if we have a written
I think our
mutual aid agreement.
Our continuity of operations plan consists of both our mutual aid agreement and our, I believe both departments have a hierarchy showing in the absence of the chief, the assistant chief, in the absence of the assistant chief, the second assistant chief, the absence of second chief, captains, and so on down. I believe that those two documents combined, along with our SOPs, should constitute a continuity of operations plan without it being a separate document.
So is there any way you can provide me with the mutual aid plan? There is one written.
Sorry, I just walked in on the middle part of that.
Oh,
I know
okay.
that we do have we ended up writing up a 6-station policy for what's currently occurring. For if something goes on here, we shut down the stage and line still takes over for a little while. That was kind of, that's what you're talking about.
He said there should be a continuity of operations, should have been something that has been long established.
Yeah, and we have continuity of operations plans, part of the mutual aid plan, and it's part of the county procedures where if they say stand by wine and still stand by the free show, and they blow the sirens for 10 minutes and nobody comes, they say stand by post and go stand by ice cream, right?
It just has to be
That's
presented.
our continuity of
I mean, a
operations.
specific box alarm for negative station response, you think that would be more than enough, because if the whole department has COVID, it's a negative station response, so that one box alarm specifically for negative station should be.
So maybe I need the box alarm. They want a document that's been long established, basically.
That would be our negative
It's been
station.
there for decades.
And him asking for that that's crossing a T and dotting an I on their part.
Well,
It's a federal requirement that they gotta meet.
There may be another piece to that in your organizational statement, not your mission statement, but the organizational statement you have to have for professional purposes. You have a useless thing, but kind of goes along the line of what you're talking about. Somewhere in the file with the pet stuff that you never used.
that's where we stood on the reimbursement for the COVID.
Are we anywhere near the 3,300?
Yeah, I ran a report, we're already at about 4,000.
Oh, wow. Not much.
$4,000.
That's good because when you're doing the counts, your hours, those hours will add up very, very quickly. As far as our 25%. That's what our hours don't count towards the 75%. Our hours count toward. Actually, no, yours, because you guys are getting paid. We also need to do a calculation on your volunteer hours. So the time that the chiefs and others that have put towards making sure that that stuff is all available and, all being done properly. That, those, the volunteer hours will go towards, because even though we're not paying them, that's, what's the term I'm looking for? Sweat, there's a legal term for sweat equity. They'll assign a dollar amount to those hours, and that will be part of our 25%.
See, he said paid staff, so I'll double check on that.
Check on that, see if our volunteer hours, just like during a disaster, our volunteer hours count. So if we had to do extra training, if we had to do extra vehicle prep, if we had to, anything.
Decon apparatus at your calls. I don't know if that would count, but.
Full-time employee.
Anything else for Sean or Brian? Do you have anything else? Sean?
Can I just, jump in, I'm going back to election stuff, but I just want to, three things. Is it already, I guess it's all right, because I already did, I bought extra supplies, so we have rubber gloves, hand sanitizer, maybe some spray bottles or whatnot. Is it all right, would it be okay, it's agreed that we're gonna have the election, the fire district election held in this room, right? And in the main meeting room, or wine and stuff. Is it all right if we put duct tape on the floor so we can have like 6 feet, like, so there's gonna be the first signing table, and I wanna have tape on the floor 6 feet, stand there at the door, then another 6 feet, tape on the floor, stand 6 feet away from this person, another 6 feet. So would it be all right for me to go ahead and?
Yeah, I would probably use painter's tape.
Painter's
Yeah,
tape or
painter's
gaffer's
tape,
tape?
yeah.
Do not
Yeah.
use duct tape.
Okay.
Just not paint.
Painter's tape or duct.
Okay.
It'll stick to the.
Then I just didn't know if, because a number of the people that participate in this are volunteer firefighters, but is there a provision where we give them a LoSAP point or two for working the election?
You mean the people that are the election inspectors and ballot clerks?
Ballot clerks?
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't get full tape.
Okay. All right, I was just curious.
Get $50.
Yeah, right.
Percentage wise.
Right, that's a big thing.
Half for 2 minutes.
Okay.
30%.
Think about it more now.
Can I bring in our procedures? Your governor on Labor Day enacted a law that requires every municipality, including fire districts, to have a communicable disease operations plan. It was enacted September 7th, to take effect October 7th, but it requires the Department of Labor to enact some regulations, which they haven't done yet. The rumor is it's going to get rolled out in April, but you can't find that written anywhere. But there's actually a very insightful article coming out in FASD magazine next month that will provide you some guidance with it. But it's kind of along the lines of, okay, who you have to declare who's essential personnel. You got to decide who's not essential, who can work from home, who has to be here. You have to have a plan for procuring stuff like that, the masks and whatever. So it's it was something, because we have a legislature that has to legislate. They, came up with this in the height of the COVID thing. I would like to point out that the memo that accompanied the legislation, the bill jacket, saluted all of the dedicated state workers that rose to the occasion, attended their jobs when the COVID outbreak. And it started with the state's attorneys. Never mentioned law enforcement. Fire service was about the 6th one down. But I thought it was interesting that the bill jacket, been saluting and recognizing this dedicated state municipal workers, and started with the lawyers. So clueless people.
Who wrote the FASD article?
Not me. But it's, you'll notice that it's very cogent, to the point, not like some other articles you read. But I mean, we're told, the rumor is it's April, and to get the Department of Labor to do anything in terms of regulations, it's probably going to take that long anyway, because they're all out working remotely.
Are they back to work yet, or?
I don't know. I have no idea where it is.
So the Department of State agent.
Telecommuting was extended.
And the guidance that's coming forward on that stuff, even at the state agency level, is sometimes very difficult to action because it's, 4 people can read it and get 5 different interpretations of what it means.
But coincidentally, the focus is continuity of operations and how,
CoopCog has been a big focus for about 3 years now. Unfortunately, a lot of agencies and entities have not picked up on continuity of operations, continuity.
that'll be in the, we'll have more direction for you later on.
All right. Anything else? Sean, you would add that in.
I do have one other thing. Can I?
Yeah.
I texted Janice when she was at a town clerks association meeting, and the Rensselaer County Board of Election was there. And I asked her, when the heck are they gonna come here and meet? And she got a hold of Brad McDonough, and he's gonna call you, I guess, tomorrow. Sorry. That's all right. So,
And I already forwarded Gary Gillespie's name, but I'll find out if Gary is the guy for Brian.
okay.
Yep.
So somebody's gonna reach out tomorrow.
Yep.
So.
All right. Our policy procedures membership, we do have, so these are already approved from Brian, so we're not gonna, we got everything in. We've got 2 new applications, Logan Southard.
Yep.
From Wine and Skill and Keating, Keating from DeFreeseville, and we got a chance to look at them. Any questions or comments?
Balance looking good.
All right, entertain a motion to approve board members. So Rich, need a second. Brian, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those are both approved. Things in order. We're under policies. Did you want to add anything? You've been doing work on qualifications.
Well, that's fine, yeah.
Oh, all right. We'll get to that. Anything else other? All right. LoSAP, anything with that?
Just, Sean, following up on our discussion.
All right.
I did find something. I found the resolution.
Yeah.
And it says section 7. See, I think maybe it just wasn't clear, but section 7 says entitlement age, retirement age shall be attainment of age 62 with 1 year participation. And that's when Michelle came in, because Steve Fitzpatrick was added back onto the list because he wasn't active for like 5 years. He came back, he was active for a year. They added him back into LoSAP. He was not accounted for when they did the actuarial increase. So I think it was $24,000 a year for the next 10 years to do this. And that's when it was determined that in order to get the money at 62, you have to have 1 year in since the resolution was passed.
That's where we got.
And what
We have to
year was the
read
resolution?
section 7 of the original plan. I don't know what that's-
2011.
I don't know what
Well,
that.
so you had to have 12 or later, correct?
Right, you have to have a year in, 12 or later.
We need that plan,
That's what we were.
section, we need the original plan to see what that amended. I don't know what section 7 says. I looked to see if I had that. I don't have it.
Oh, yeah, I don't have
So
that.
maybe over the course of next month, you can connect with Terry,
Yeah.
get an interpretation on that. Other than,
Well, I was gonna also look in the minutes because Michelle was there, so it was documented in the minutes. This is what was interpreted, because we had to pay, it was almost $4,000 to pay up for Steve to get in. So, yeah.
all right. Ryan, officer qualifications.
I was just gonna say about LoSAP.
Oh, yeah.
Do we, we may have already had, maybe it was a senior moment here, but, COVID for LoSAP, with the bonus points. or
We're gonna look at it at the end of the year, I thought.
Right, is that like November, or wait till December? So,
You really shouldn't wait till after December.
right, well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you technically have till April, but your points are due in January, so I don't know how you do that. You need well, you gotta decide what you wanna do, whether you just want a wholesale 5 points, or we're gonna give a point for drills that was canceled or whatever, so. Or you can just, kind of adopt a resolution that gives you some flexibility to do whatever you want.
So we still got another month or so to make that decision.
You probably ought to, you probably ought to do it next month, but you could get away with it in December. Just, I mean, you're gonna have, when you're going into the end of the year, the certainty of, you know, what are we gonna do with these people? You know, if anything, take a look, you may not, you know, you may find that you don't need to do it. And the legislation, and there's two pieces of legislation. One got passed, it's the up to 5 points a month prorated for March. And the other one is if you can basically fudge what responses are provided you've got some definition of. But that you could have done even without this legislation. And it's good because that legislation is mired in committee right now. So as far as the response calls go, if you're going to do something with that, you better articulate what it was you told your people about responding and redefine that before then, because it's only going to affect the people that got under 10%. You know.
I know, so more particular thing. All right.
All right. Officer qualifications.
Um,
Ryan and Scott.
Sent the document out to the district, the chiefs, got some feedback, made a couple changes. Trying to really simplify the process. I'm not going to read the whole thing out to you, as I assume everybody had a chance to review. Gave a copy to Terry also. I'm not going to go to jail over, so that's a good thing. But long story short, basically these qualifications, just to get some standardized between the two departments, so it's one district. They would not take effect for have any bearing on the elections this year. They would be in place for next year. Some basic highlights, we changed some things for running for officer. We changed the definition of active firefighters. When you say active firefighter, everything's low sat. You know, it is people when they low sat pretty much without really being on a lot of calls. So there was a standard put in place where we're defining active as 10% of all calls. There's a disparity of fire and EMS now. It's kind of antiquated. Now the department really does a lot of EMS calls, so it's 10% of all calls. 10 each. And we're looking at minimum 12 company drills and making your OSHA 8-hour minimum training hours. Basically, drills obviously they're important. Officers teach drills, so it's important to be there. It's hard to bad you can go to drills if you're not at the drill. We did put a caveat in there because it was brought up. Chief Burkhardt brought up a good point. I can remember a few years ago we had the ice storms here. I can remember at least one member, if not more, in DeFreeseville. We had 160 some calls over like 48 hours, and some members got bumped out of low staff. So we do have a little thing here. Basically, if some extraordinary event occurs, such as like that ice storm, and it can throw somebody's low staff out of whack at the discretion of the chiefs and the board. Waive that requirement for somebody running for officer. So if you just happen to be away that weekend and 160 calls comes in, bumps you out at 10%, you're not being punished for that.
How is that worded, the discretion part? Just because sometimes the devil's in the details and we want to.
It says, in the event such as a storm or natural disaster or other incident that occurs over a short period of time that generates an extraordinary amount of calls and causes a member to potentially not meet the 10% call requirement at the discretion of the chief and the board, the requirement may be waived, assuming a member was on track prior to the incident or incidents. Parentheses.
So maybe Terry can give and I apologize, I didn't give you this already. I'm just wondering, rather than leave it kind of vague, like, at the discretion of the chiefs and the board, like, an appeal can be made to the chief for consideration by the board, and the board actually votes and decides just to kind of take the greatness out of it.
I think, I would take the chief out of it personally. It's your call. And you make the calls on the chiefs too. So, where this has occurred, and it's occurred in a lot of places where they have to make an exception. They've been making exceptions for good candidates and bad candidates. So I think it's better under the circumstances to take chief officer out of that decision-making process.
I just changed the wording on that.
So the member themselves could appeal to the board. They felt that.
Yeah, because what happens is typically it could be somebody running against a chief, and or we, yeah. So it's got to be, you got to almost take it out of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I need you to waive this because I want to run against you. No, Just create
So an
that.
appeal can be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners for consideration.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, that part of it. Basically, non-New York State OPC training may be substituted with district chief approval. Basically, you can't get training outside for some of these classes in here. Classes are laid out. There's a progression where you start interior firefighter, work your way up. I did add the verbiage in there that in order to be a chief, you have to have at least 1 year as an assistant chief to become chief. Just gives them the timeline, but it's basically down to a 2-page document. I'm loving the verbiage change on that feel there, but haven't heard any other real feedback beyond
I mean, we spent probably 2 hours sitting out there trashing it.
trashing. That's been put.
Trashing it, yeah, we trashed it and built it back up.
And there's nothing that's not attainable. I mean, there is in there, obviously, somebody, you get hit with this out of the blue, there may be a class or a course that's not offered too often. So there is some wiggle room there, but a lot of these, almost every class here is something that's easily attainable. They're not like those weird classes that are way out from left field. So,
Ready for a vote now?
I mean, we've had plenty of time to look at it. We've had
I don't
it.
think we want to keep kicking the can down the road.
yeah, it's just a matter of, I guess, to approve it with the
Yeah.
amendment of the appeal process.
I move we approve it.
Second, is this resolution or a motion, Terry?
You're doing a policy, let's do a resolution on the policy.
All right.
Wherefore,
Which makes the resolution one. Need a second?
Second.
Dave, roll call.
Dave?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Brian? Scott?
Resolution carries.
Nice job.
Nice work. I know you put a lot of work into that.
Jeez.
Thank you all. All right.
Is this gonna be a policy?
Yeah,
So do you want me to format that into our policies, like, so it should be?
Yeah, it should look
Oh,
like that.
okay, so-
And the
So
other
after
thing,
you make that change, then I'll format it and then I'll let everybody look at it, make sure it's.
there ought to be some direction given to the companies too, because it all starts in the companies. And can they nominate someone that doesn't meet these qualifications? Well, it's a district policy. Let the district worry about it. We're gonna vote for some person that doesn't meet this stuff, meet this criteria, or do you wanna say holistically, unless they can check these things off, they can't run at the company level? I mean, that's where you're gonna run into a problem.
Can we tell the company that? My understanding is we can tell the company that we're not gonna approve it. Can we tell them who they can allow to run?
Are we still broadcasting?
Probably.
I'll take it under advisement. But no, I think, it creates problems because, you're gonna have, there have been situations where the person is eminently unqualified. The company says, well, we're gonna do it anyway, and then all it does is create a storm.
Right.
Here.
We've seen those situations where,
Yeah.
where a fire company has deliberately nominated somebody for a position that they know the board isn't gonna approve. Hasn't happened here, fortunately.
no, we have had one situation where we did not approve.
Okay, but we've seen it where they've deliberately done it, and in order to entice a public drama of, well, this is who we put forward, and they won't approve it.
But I think what you have to do with the process that you've outlined for taking exceptions with people, I think there has to be a preliminary statement on this that tells the companies, these are the criteria, and also, and unless the district has advised you otherwise, do not nominate, do not elect.
Almost like a preamble on.
Kind of like that, in a nice way, telling them, we expect you to be the
Well, why don't
gatekeepers
we-
on this.
Have the district secretary send a letter with a policy attached, and that can be the narrative.
We
Is it recently passed, or is it a policy,
We did a good thing a couple of years ago, and because of COVID last year, we couldn't this year, we couldn't do it this year, and I don't know if we discussed it because of the way COVID evolved. But that one joint drill we did a couple of years ago, where we spent an evening going over, this is what our LoSAP plan is.
Right.
This is what all, that might not be a bad thing to start to think about for January, February, if we can pull something like that off.
It's a good Zoom.
And be able to explain to people, hey, this is one of the changes in policy. But in the meantime, your idea of impact is.
Well, what about, we do the letter regardless, so.
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Basically, it's a copy of the policy with a cover letter that essentially says, you know, we've adopted this new policy, these are the qualifications. Please be sure when putting forth recommendations for candidates to be appointed to meet the criteria. And then maybe in January and February, you could do like a joint Zoom drill to go over the policy, some of the other benefits, and maybe you could even tie in there some of the routine policies that we have to cover every year. They've been trained on. Well, again, nice job, I know that. A lot of work. Business operations and technology, where do we stand with the iPads? I don't remember.
We have them.
Those?
We have them now. Yep, I'm working on that. I received car ones back. I need to get Adams back. I sent him an email so that I can get the older ones back. I have to kind of reprogram them because they're going to go to the newer ones are going to go to the people who had the older ones. So I'm going to have to reassign emails. We got the vehicle mounts already for those two. And if they like those vehicle mounts, we can buy 2 more vehicle mounts for the older 2, which I've already been told who's going to get those.
That's something else we gotta make a decision on, regard to the apparatus too, because that's one of the things coming soon down the road, is we're gonna have to tell them the specifications on the iPad mounts, or the tablet mounts. We specify tablet mount, we tell them iPad or whatever, we're gonna have to give them.
I'll get with you later. Dan Sheehan had a model about.
And that, I don't know if they have for the now, you know, because technology changes. Sometimes, you know, you may want to get almost more in a universal one that if you switch a model.
That's what this is. I mean, for a an Explorer SUV, I can't speak for the fire apparatus if that's going to work, but for the smaller SUVs, this mount that we bought at a very reasonable cost, I think it's going to work well.
The other thing, before we want to buy one for the apparatus, you might want to consider, like for these ones we bought for the Chiefs, they're only Wi-Fi, but we added the hotspot to the Chiefs phones. The ones in the apparatus, we might want to consider a cellular one, because you're not going to want to, number one, somebody might not have a hotspot, they need to use it. And they're not going to want to mess around, trying to link up, trying to Bluetooth and everything else. So that's just a consideration, because that is another $40 a month. I'm not saying don't do it, but if you're gonna bother to put a tablet on there, you wanna make it user friendly. And our cell phone bills get way less, so. All right, development plan review, when's the car wash open? Want that.
They were cycling it the other day, you could see they had brushes moving around, I couldn't see some water.
I know there's some openings.
For jobs.
Free car wash.
Free car wash.
Hey, Mike, on the back of that building, in the backside, all the way in, see how the blacktop tapers down towards the guardrail?
I really drew
Was
that
that
there.
designed that way, or?
A lot of that stuff doesn't look like the original plans I saw. But looks like they've added.
I haven't gone over and
I
looked at it
happened to
myself.
notice it the other day, and when you look at it coming around, it looks like it kind of tapers down.
I'm keeping my mouth shut, the zoning board got sued today, so I don't.
Is I
Not about the car
something
wash.
settled in the meantime? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about I'm not sure.
Is it coming to planning?
Upstairs,
But
what does it look like?
It's like a little office space, bedroom.
Is that what that is, office stuff?
But I guess Advanced Auto Parts is going where Aaron's was. I've heard rumors, and I saw it on Facebook today, so it must be true now. Lowe's in that corner.
Oh, must be true, it was on Facebook.
Well, now, but I heard other sidebar, but
I've heard the blue.
we go digging, we have drawings. I know when Ray was chief of what that's supposed to look like with the Lowe's, the outbuilding, the 3 retail pads going back around behind towards the old.
When we were looking at site plans for the car wash, they provided some detail of contour of the land, not their land, but the land going up away from them
Yeah.
at the request of the planning and zoning board. And some of the electronic labels were still on some of that contour mapping, and very recent contour mapping that showed was launched.
It's supposed to go from Agway Drive up and around the old time
I have-
building.
That was downloading,
Yeah.
that's the lows.
Well, those have been
Yeah,
corner
in there.
43, but they're supposed to be,
What's the name of that plan?
it's going to Agway Drive, so something 3 retail pads going to those parking lots that are outbuilding. That's
I
the
never
original
knew.
drawings we had from 10, 12 years ago.
Usually just updated all by itself.
That's great, because I enjoy it.
Tech Valley Plaza?
I tried.
But, I mean, in general, we're seeing a run, and, you know, lots of press the other day about that strip mall going in across the Little Red Schoolhouse. You can see that Muscatello started at the one across from his shop. He's working on approvals for a small one, very small one, across the street from where Sal the Barber lives, diagonally across from the diner. And he's already had some preliminary discussions on a piece of land that he owns between here and the diner, as far as developing for these little, so the commercial development is not slowed down. You know, I don't know what's happened to the proposal for the bakery on the lot now owned by Scott Noel, that used to belong to the Frisco Fire Company. But I noticed that some trees came down there this week, a whole lot of fills going in there. When I went by there at 5:15, 5:30 tonight in the rain, there was still a guy out there working with headlights shining. He was working with a piece of heavy equipment, moving debris and dirt and all that around. So, yeah, I mean, you don't work after dark with headlights in the rain doing that kind of work unless there's something happening.
And you know, they're getting cleared down by CVS stewards.
Yeah, but that's those guys that, there's a lot of activity. The healthcare facility, across the corner from, I guess CVS, across the street, the corner of Thompson, that's well underway. There's a lot of activity going on.
All right, fire and medic operations, Richard Dave.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just to let you know, tonight was supposed to be our night to do our joint drill over in the pit. So my skills and free were over there doing extrication tonight over the pit. Fortunately, we couldn't make it.
I appreciate that, because I'm the ones who kind of push on that, and you know,
I
I
believe
appreciate the effort to get that done.
I'm gonna leave next month. We will be coming here. I think Mike Russell was saying that we're gonna take them to the door simulator. I think that's on the program for next month.
That thing's hot, we just see it.
I seen it in parts, but I haven't seen it all together yet. So.
We gotta get another piece welded on it between now and then, but
That's something we moved on and guys are looking forward to.
we went down there to pick it up on Saturday, 3 of us, and I don't know that it was completely communicated to us, but in our trip down and back was also a 3-hour class on how to use it and et cetera. And we had one of our very young DeFriesel members with us who basically did all the hands-on work with it. And he got a lesson and a half from a 31-year retired truckie from the FDNY. He got 3 hours of hands-on forcible entry, and just pretty amazing. And Bart and I had a real good view on how to actually use the prop. So I think it's going to be a real training asset to us, because you can poll this room. When was the last time anybody here physically had to force a locked or barricaded door? I mean, you can really get some practice with this thing. This is going to be a hell of a training tool.
Who else went down there?
Bart, myself, and Matt. What's Matt's last name?
You lack.
Matt, the new guy. Matt.
I can see his name still on it, I just want to pronounce it.
Dulac.
Good kid, good, and he got some real good hands-on training. Really good. Matter of fact, Bart was going to put him in for a 3-hour class for it. It was that intense.
All right. Apparatus needs, we already talked about both and all that. Anything else? Any public session comments come in, Bob? None? Entertain a motion to.
The going to executive session for a short little discussion on last one.
You just need to specify what, like to discuss the employment
personnel.
history of a particular member?
Yeah.
Okay. See that? I listen. Entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment.
Yes, we have.
Particular.
Do we get first?
Dave said short.
It's Dave.
All right.
Who's the second on that?
I'll second it.
I didn't, I thought somebody
Rich
seconded.
made it, Dave
Okay.
confirmed.
Brian, that's Brian.
Brian seconded it. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Who gets to say?
Well, the commissioners.
Bob,
Camera on.
the camera.
Thanks.
Mark, I'm good?
You can say two.
Executive session.
I'm good.
Here's the-